Hello, my fellow readers. This is Dark Symphony 777 with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notification. Leave a comment section below on your thoughts of the story. If I listen to my opinion is not indicative around the world, so please respect that. As well as if you have any fan fictions you want me to read or review in the future, leave them in the comment section below as well. Now, let's go. The story I'm doing a review of is The Chords of Paradise by Zap797. It is a Touhou Project fanfiction, and first impressions of it is I was not impressed. However, when I finished it, I will have to say I was very impressed. Not super impressed, but impressed enough that, the story grew on me. Really, it added legitimate charm to it. So let's actually get to the plot. So, here is the plot. There is no plot! What do I mean by this? Well, in essence, normally a plot is when you try and move a story from one end to the other, basically twists and turns a long way. However, Chords of Paradise, it's what's called a slice of life fanfiction, where nothing really substantial happens. There are mini plots that, in essence, that's what this story is. It's just a bunch of mini little plots that take place over the course of one, maybe two chapters that are more or less self-contained and only have a loose thread of the main character attached to it, and that's fine. Personally, I'm not a fan of these types of stories. That's just not for me. However, I do appreciate the fact that there are a lot of people who do like these types of stories, and they do have their charm when they're done. They're just not for me. So, what is the essential plot thread? Well, the story actually starts with a man by the name of Tadashi Rizumu, otherwise known as Dash, how he likes to be called. He's a musician drifter who just randomly wander around somewhere where he gets a flyer for a job to be a musician at a party. And who would be the one hosting the party but one and only Yukari Yakumo? Damn it, Yukari! And yes, Yukari pulls the whole Wamba Wamba sends him to Gensokyo, and he's there to do a party. It's like, why did you bring me here, woman? Party. Hey! Oh. And so he does the party. He realizes he had a lot of fun doing it. So Yukari offers him a choice. You can stay here, and we will have no problems. You can just do whatever you want. Or I'll just send you home, and you can go do whatever you want. Take your pick. Tadashi, realizing he actually has some friends now, he goes, I'm going to stay here. And thus starts the plot, quote unquote, where it's just a bunch of random miscellaneous adventures with Tadashi just doing stuff. Whether it's getting a job, making friends, falling in love with Alice Margatroyd, and finding out he's also a yokai. Yeah, spoiler, he's a yokai. He just didn't know it yet until like halfway through the story. That's various little bibs and bobs that don't really have much in the way of conflict or meaningful plot progression, because this is just one of those, any like lackadaisical, almost whimsical types of stories where like anything can just realistically happen. You're just really just go, and it's just really enjoying the story to enjoy the story. You're not gonna look anything deep into it. You're just here to relax. You just read it, relax, have a good time. Maybe sip some water or hot chocolate, and just have some fun with it. That's all I have to say about the plot. For the character, we have two characters: Alice Margatroyd and Tadashi Rizumu. Let's start with Tadashi. He is what is called an insert character. Now, again, I'm not saying insert characters are bad. You're thinking of self-insert characters. Those tend to be bad. Tadashi is an insert type character. What is an insert type character? Well, an insert type character is the type of character that you're basically meant to live vicariously through witnessing their experiences. Usually these types of characters are commonly found in first-person stories. This story is first-person. I almost said self-insert. Insert type characters can have a fully fleshed character arc. They can have a fully fleshed character. You can have all the bells and whistles, but the main purpose of the insert type character is that you're meant to witness like all the shenanigans through their eyes. For example, let's take Kimihito from Daily Life of Monster Girls. He's technically an insert character, but is he? But he's also a fully fleshed character. He's kind. He has a good heart. He's very courageous. He's brave. He has lots of. He does have some flaws that you see throughout the story. He technically cares too much. He's too selfless. But we're not there to witness him. We're here to witness all the crazy monster girls and all the shit they get into. With this story, it's the same. Tadashi is a well-written character. He has a lot of flaws. He is reckless. He is kind of dumb. He's kind of sort of dumb. He tends to really be somewhat, I guess you can kind of say apathetic. Not really, but kind of. But you're not here for him. You're here for all the insane shit that happens in Gensokyo. From all the shit involving Alice falling in love with Tadashi to his conversations with Marisa Kirisame being just which is basically boiling down to both of them taking the piss on each other. His relationship with Yukari, where he just basically boils down and Yukari's just pulling the Yukari trick. His whole shit with Rimu, where they're like cordial friends. The whole boss employee relationship he has with Mistia, the whole musical connection he has with Ryzen. You're not here for Tadashi, you're here for everyone else. Tadashi is just a bonus. And on that level, I think Tadashi is done really well. Again, not my personal thing. I'm not a big fan of insert type characters. Again, I know they have their appeal, and I know they have their fans. I just personally am not a fan of them. And I think everyone else is just massively entertaining. Every single character has a legitimate charm about them that you just honestly fall in love with, like all their quirky behavior and all their nonsense that goes on with them. Especially how Tadashi's has different behaviors based on who he's talking to. Like I said, with Marisa, it's very comedic in tone because they're just taking the piss at each other. But with his relationship with Kind, it's more respectful. With Rimu, it's more cordial. With Rimu, it's more business. There's different dynamics that the author establishes for Tadashi throughout the story. I think they're all done really well. Alice. This is where I have to say my one big flaw. And no, it's not the romance. You're probably thinking, oh, I shit about romance all the time, being forced. No, I think the romance between Tadashi and Alice is fine. It's not amazing, in my opinion, but for what it's trying to tell in the context of the story, I think it's fine. I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They start as acquaintances where they're especially the neat touch where the author has Alice refusing to call Tadashi by Dash. He's like, no, I want to keep it formal. But then as they meet along, she starts calling him Dash, and they actually start to get to know each other, and they actually start hanging out and go on dates, quote unquote, dates but not really, and hang out more and more. And everyone kind of starts noticing, except for them, because they want to see themselves more as friends, and they're too afraid to push itself. And then at the end is where I have a problem. At the end, Tadashi is invited by Sakuya Izoi to the Scarlet Dome Mansion. Vermilia wants to hire him as the mansion's musician. Alice completely not trusting Vermilia because I smell a rat, and in the distance, Vermilia probably starts squeaking. And decides to go with Dash. Once Vermilia makes it clear she wants Tadashi for his music skills, Alice goes, no, I'm challenging you to a duel. It's oh. You get a big custom spell card duel. Follows all the tips and whistles. However, what I don't like when it comes to this and how I connect to Alice is the end of the fight. So we have a big thing, a big plot line throughout Alice's story where she touches upon the events of Touhou 5, basically the destruction of Makai. In that game, I believe Alice was the super boss, and the destruction of Makai kind of uh, forced her into Gensokyo, and she kind of became a yokai that way. And so she basically took up puppetry more heavily and became more reclusive because she's trying to restart the family that she lost because and she always carries around the grimoire of Alice as like a memory of losing everything. And so there's this plot line where she talks to Tadashi and kind of opens up to him, revealing like her feelings of the whole thing. Like the reason she took up puppetry is because she lost her family and she's using the puppetry and trying to make an autonomous puppet as a way to get back a family, give herself something to care about, something to connect with again. It's actually really well done. And it ultimately culminates in the spell card duel with Romelia, where Alice opens the grimoire and basically becomes like incredibly powerful. And he's like, "Oh, okay, she's doing this because she's worried that if she doesn't, then she's gonna lose the one person that she's genuinely cared about in a long time, and she's worried about losing him. And this is kind of where like she realizes that she does love him, but she's also worried that he doesn't love her. Granted, Remilly kind of pushes him, is like, go for it after the fact. But what happens in the fight is Alice gets supercharged by the magic, and she actually starts overwhelming, getting into a stalemate with Romelia. Yukari shows up, because of course she does, because she sensed the grimoire opening. They're stuck in a stalemate. And Alice is... What I think should have happened is Alice uses a mixture of overwhelming power and precision skill to eventually beat Romelia. What actually happens is Yukari makes Tadashi interfere with the duel by using his power. Basically, Tadashi in the story has the power of persuasion. Basically, if he plays a song, he orders someone to do something, if they depending on if they're either successful or they're determined for the wish, he can influence their behavior by giving them like a boost of energy, by making them making their senses sharper and stuff like that, or make them do something stupid like he did with hitting Kazuzu with a book. Tadashi uses power to influence to give Alice a somewhat short burst of energy. I'm not a fan of that because I think it undermines Alice's entire character. Granted, the author does try to justify this with the whole red string of fate thing in the next chapter where Tadashi is like dead because he ran into Flandre and she killed him. Because of course he did. Because of course Flandre did. Because she's Flan. Insert you and Owen was here jokes. And Romelia explains that there are some fates that she sees that become interconnected, and she can't really mess with them anymore. Which is what the spell card duel was about. Was her trying like a big attempt to try and basically break the strings that are tying Tadashi and Alice together, and she didn't really care. It's like, oh, I won, so I get him. But if not, I proved the point that I can't break it. I still think that's kind of a cop out because it kind of feels like Alice needed outside help to win, especially since the whole idea behind the fight is the fact that Alice is finally kind of moved on just enough with her grief over what happened in Touhou 5 that she willingly opens the book again because she's that determined to not let him leave her. And then at the end, she only gets the job because technically he helped her. It doesn't really. I'm not a fan of that. I just think it's a cop out. I I get what the author was going for. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of how it was done. I personally just think Alice should have just been able to use to beat Vermillion up straight. That's just me. I understand what the author was going for. That's just personal preference. Uh, but I think as a whole, these two characters are really good. They're not amazing, but what the author is trying to pull with them is good. Is honestly good enough. I don't really have any big complaints about them. Grammar. There are a couple of grammar errors, mainly with Alice's last name, Margaretroyd, which for some reason the author kept misspelling as Margaretriad, like switching the I and O. It was really weird because it's like it wasn't even like one time; it was like multiple times. The author did eventually spell her name right, but it's so weird. It's so jarring seeing like a perfect grammar, and then you keep seeing Margaretriad just staring you in the face. It's kind of just weird. Pacing wise, this is a slice of life fan fiction, so the pacing is very, very variable depending on what the plot is. Some of the stories are more fast paced. Some of the stories are slower paced. It's a very varied paced story. So ultimately, the story's pacing is gonna be all over the place. But that's on purpose because that's honestly what these types of stories tend to do. So I have no complaints. Would I recommend this story? Yes, I do think this is a solid story. All the big issues I have with it are more due to personal preference, except for the Alice bit. Like I said, not a fan of how she won. Do I have a favorite part of the story? Mm, mm, not. There is maybe one. I guess you can say. No. Yeah, I do have a favorite part. Alice revealing her little backstory to Tadashi. I think that was very sweet with her revealing like how she became a yokai. I was a human once, and then telling like some of the events of Touhou 5, where she opened the grimoire and then she like witnessed everything just dying in front of her, like her whole home being separated from it, and her brokenheartedness of becoming more and more of a recluse to the point where like she's kind of ostracized as a whole by Gensokyo because she's walled herself off so much that all she has left is her dolls and Shanghai. I was like the little touches of like Alice subconsciously having like Shanghai just do goofy stuff to Tadashi. Like, oh, she'll just lay on his shoulder, and I guess if Shanghai, i.e., Alice, thinks that Tadashi did something stupid, she'll have Shanghai just bop him on the head, but she's like a doll, so it doesn't really hurt her. It's just a notice like no. It's just a doll telling a person no, and it's just very cute. But that, along with Alice's story of just, it's actually really well done. Was there anything I would change besides having Alice be Vermilius straight? I would have liked an added chapter where Tadashi ran into Kogasa because of how because of what yokai Tadashi specifically is. He's actually a fall lich, where he's only kept alive by the guitar, so he has to keep the guitar alive as long as possible. Otherwise, he won't die. And consider the fact Kogasa is kind of the same way. She's not the girl on the umbrella. She's the umbrella herself, and the umbrella just kind of projects the girl. And it would have been kind of funny of her just trying to pull something at Tadashi, like and then and then he just goes like bops her. You could have easily just done it like a bonus chapter where like Kogasa tries something, fails because Kogasa, that's all she does. She's like bad at her job. I'm supposed to be spooky. We're bad at spooky. And you can even have like Tadashi trying to teach you to be better spooky, or like Kogasa trying to like immediately knowing Tadashi is like her. Not she thinks he's a Tsuki Ogami, but it actually is a false volition. So she's just kind of grabs the umbrella and the guitar. And it's like, this is you, and like, wait, how'd she know? You can do a lot of stuff like with Kagasa. Plus, Kagasa's cute. We need more Kagasa. Spoopy, especially in the spoopy season. Spoopy, so spoopy. But that is Chords of Paradise. I think it's a fine story. This has been Dark Symphony 707, and